Hello, this is Lauren Harvey. I am sorry I could not be there today, um, as I am currently in Panama, continuing some of the work I did with the Peace Corps and working with English teachers. So it's very fitting that I am talking about this topic today. Um, I so we have been talking about how linguistic imperialism um, can possibly be perpetrated by the Peace Corps and other similar groups, and how we need to take these ideas into consideration when not just teaching English, but teaching people how to teach English. So teaching Peace Corps volunteers specifically how to teach English. Um, and so my experience has been in Panama, and it is safe to say that Panama and the United States have had a complicated relationship throughout the years, um, most of it relating to the Panama Canal. Um, so the US helped Panama gain independence from Colombia in 1904 in exchange for control over the canal and continued control over the canal. This, after the canal was built, resulted in a lot of tension between the two countries, resulting in Jimmy Carter and Omar Torrijos signing an agreement that stated that by 1999, the Panama Canal would be handed over to the Panamanian people. Um, there is a lot of stuff that I could go into here, but this is not the time or place, so I'm just going to keep moving on. The next big piece of Panamanian and U.S. history is related to General Manuel Noriega, who was a dictator here in Panama, and the United States ousted him by going in and bombing Panama in 1989. This was called Operation Just Cause, but there is a lot of controversy about whether it actually was a just cause to oust a bad ruler or as a ploy to maintain more control in the region. So today, the United States and Panama are partners and allies. They're working together, but that does not mean that we can ignore all of this complicated history, and that does not mean that the Panamanian people ignore this complicated history. However, when I was being trained for Peace Corps here in Panama, we had 3 months of training, as Emily has probably mentioned. Um, we did not really talk at all about the history between the United States and Panama. And this was specifically surprising as the Peace Corps is technically a United States government operation. The sole focus was on teaching language, and if we talked about culture, it was just about general classroom differences between the US and Panama and how we could share our American culture with the students and learn from them, but more on a surface level, not going really deep into what this cultural means and what the historical implications have, what these historical implications might be based on the relationship between the United States and Panama. So there was no attention given to these relations. I sort of picked this up through my 2 years living in a Panamanian town, um, and how this could possibly influence attitudes towards the English language. So many students, they're young, they were not aware of this complicated history, or if they knew anything of it, it was from their parents and grandparents. But those parents and grandparents had lived through that history and they have those memories. In Panama, so in the United States, when people ask where you were at 9/11, that's sort of a strong memory we have. In Panama, it's where were you when the United States bombed us in 1989? That's their equivalent. And so it's something that is very strong in the memory um, of many Panamanians, but that doesn't mean that there's open hostility. So Panamanians are extremely warm and welcoming, and they welcomed me into their community, and I felt definitely a part of the community. But just because I was welcomed with open arms does not mean I should ignore, as a Peace Corps volunteer, the implications of what that means, of me going to another country, another community, and representing the United States. And all that that entails. So these are some of the important implications we need to think about when not just talking about teaching English abroad, but actually training people, such as Peace Corps volunteers, to do this work. This is something that needs to be taken into consideration, especially through the lens of linguistic imperialism, because if we don't take this into consideration, that is where we will fall. We will fall into the trap of linguistic imperialism and just accepting that teaching English is a good thing that is all positive with no negative implications or connections or relations whatsoever. While it should be seen as a positive thing for the students who are learning it, it should be a fun experience. The teachers need to be aware of what their cultural baggage is when coming into the classroom. And in Panama, a lot of that was the historical background between the two countries. Thank you, and I will turn it back over to Emily.